Hi, so the final part of the week 6 sections for this series is the auditing and the compare and merge areas. So we're going to look at those now. So if we both, or if I open up auditing together, if you're going to do this yourselves as well. And it's a really easy area to cover. You will get a couple of questions possibly on this in the exam. So let's have a look. The first area is on the trace precedent. Feature is in the formula tab, and you can see all of the areas here to do with formula auditing. So some really simple stuff here. I've dropped some bits onto the screen, some print shots, just so you can see the dialog boxes that we're using if you are revising. This one, it might be that the exam asks you to trace a precedent of the C4. So you click in that cell, go to the formulas bar and click on trace precedents, and then you'll see it coming up. So to find out where that is, if you double click on that arrow, it goes to the area which looks like it's going to be trace dependent here. And then if you click on there and double click again, you will see that that's what it's connected to. That's its source if you are tracing it back. Okay. So the other things you've got remove. So if we did a remove precedent, so if I did a trace to begin with, then you can remove using the arrows. But generally in the exam, what it is, it's an on-screen tool or feature. So you will be using it in the online exam, and they would expect to see it, or they record that you've used it. So once you go out of a document, it is no longer in the document. You don't print it or anything like that. It's an on-screen feature only. Okay, so just be aware of that. The error box you can use with regard to that. You can do error checking. This is good if you've got a very large spreadsheet and you're checking through to see if you've got any formulas that you've not found or you can't find by using your eye. So it's a good way of checking through. Generally not really in the exam much, more about using the precedent and the dependent. And then, like we did earlier, you've got the trace dependent, and you can do the same thing there. Do you remember how you can trace it back? And then you can see how many ways that that's connected as well. If we go to the error, you can see that you've got an error, divide by 0. There is nothing in that cell, hence it won't work. So really quick stuff, not a lot to do with it, so that's why I don't hang about on it, but just follow the instructions if you do get a part of a question using this feature. And remember, they're all in the formula tab. And if you want to remove the arrows, just click on the remove arrows. Okay, that takes us on to validation. You probably get a question on this more than likely, and it's about using the data tab again and your data validation here. So it's about making sure that the information that goes into a spreadsheet is valid. In other words, it fits the criteria. It's not going to be redundant because it doesn't count for anything. So if there's only 20 rooms and somebody put in 22 rooms, then that obviously is redundant data because it doesn't really exist. So it's making sure that the inputter, or the people that are using the spreadsheet, know or use it correctly according to criteria. And this is an example here. As you can see, I've dropped the dialog boxes that you normally get. We'll have a look in a minute. And you can see how this range, cell range here, has to be a whole number. It has to be greater than 147. So if I changed that to 100 and enter, then I've got this coming up to me and saying only whole numbers over 147. Retry. So I cancel it. So what it's doing is it's saying that I have to use a particular criteria, otherwise it won't accept it, and it sort of sends this dialog box at me. That dialog box that it sent to me is this. That's the bit you can see on there, the CI training, that's the label. What it sent to me was the information. If I come over here, there is an error message as well. So if I wanted that error message to come up about only whole numbers over 147, that's where that would be. So if we were going to create this, we could change it. So let's go and highlight this data. Go to the data validation. Let's do a whole number over 100. And let's do a message, input message, invoice number, invoice numbers over 100, and then an error message, only numbers over 100. And that's the one that we got up when we weren't happy with it. So what we've done is if we OK, now when we click on it, you can see it's over 100. But if you do forget or you don't notice it and you change it to something, then you've still got that message coming through. So all you're doing is highlighting a range, and then you're using the data validation in the way that you wish to use it. And that's by using this feature here. So we were already on a whole number. You can use lots of different things. And I've done some examples across the workbook here. It's the validation time. And you can see that how this one, if I highlight the range and we go into data validation, it's going to include the extra ones I've just highlighted. And you can put in a time, and then you can follow, like I've done here, it might be something starting at 8:30, finishing at 5:30. And if you get a time that goes before that or after that, then you could put in an error, an input cell and an error cell. They're really quite straightforward. The best one of all, I think, to use in real life and maybe in the exam as well, is the list one. So it's the one where you can get people to drop things down, so you can pick from a list. And this stops a lot of, it clarifies and validates data in that people don't go putting their own idea of what they should put in. You don't need to use keys. So if you were putting biological sciences as a school, someone might put biosciences, I may put B sciences, someone else might put biological sci. So that way you keep it really succinct. Everybody puts biological sciences by dropping down. In this one, I put J Jones, someone else might just put Jones. And so it keeps it consistent data and validated data. And the way that you would use that is if you highlight your range, as we've done before, data validation, and then we're going to use a list. So you put that onto list from the drop down, and then your source could be on another spreadsheet here. And we could use that. So we could use the Word, advanced Word spreadsheets, etc. Drop the list down and OK. And then you can see that you can pick those up from there. You could change that source. So you could go back to validation. The list source could go to here, and it could be this instead. And you can see that now we've got a whole different ball game. So it can be on the same page, worksheet, or it could be on a different worksheet, and it can be in a different workbook. In the exam, though, it's very likely to be around quite close by. So I think that's a really useful area in the validation as far as syllabus is concerned. The final bit we're going to do for the syllabus now is the compare and merge. Now, the compare and merge, we need to bring in a feature onto the quick access toolbar. So let's look at that first. Let's open up the compare and merge and open up bookings. So what normally happens in the test is you'd have something open on the screen, or you'd be asked to open it from the Z drive, like I'm opening up bookings. And what you're going to do is you'll notice it's shared, because it has to be shared in order to compare and merge. So comparing and merging is asking you to compare two documents and merge the data so that they're the same in both. So one may have different data, that's usually what happens. And as you can see, if I minimize this for a minute and we look at the copy that I've created, the copy has different data there. So that's what we're going to merge. Just going to close that. So we've got this open, but we need the compare and merge at the top of the screen up here. So to get that, we go to the quick access toolbar and we go to more commands. And commands that are not in the ribbon drop down. And then if you go down alphabetically, you should find compare and merge workbooks feature. And then what you can do is you can add it over. Those of you that watched macros and how we put pictures on earlier, same idea. OK that, and then it is there available. You're not expected to do this yourself in the test. This is already on the toolbar. But the thing is, if it wasn't there, you could put your hand up to an invigilator, of course, or you might need to use it when you're practicing at home. Okay, so the theory behind this is that both these workbooks are the same workbook, they've been copied and shared, and therefore when we merge, they should work, and they usually have to be in the same folder on the same drive. So we open up bookings. On the exam, you may have to open it from the Z drive, or you may already have it on the screen. And generally what I've done is I've highlighted the areas that should get merged and should change with the other document, because the other document's a copy of this, but with some differences in it. Okay, so to do the compare and merge exercise, you go up to your quick access toolbar, hover on it, and you should see it come up like that, compare and merge workbooks. Click on there. Okay, sometimes that might come up. Navigate to the area where it is, mine on the desktop. Compare and merge again. And I'm going to double click on the other one. Mine's got copy on it, but it might be bookings 1 or bookings something else. And you can see straight away that that worked. Those changes took place instead of 0, and it was very quick. So it's just something that happens very quickly, and that's it. If they don't ask you to save, just answer. If they do ask you to save, then do that. So that's your compare and merge syllabus query. Okay, so that's the end of that. I'm going to do the videos for the revision after this, if you do continue. So those revision exercises will be on the paper, questions 39 to 48. Thank you.